Cool.
Yeah. And then I've been playing Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. And I am up to chapter 12
Oh, geez. Okay.
in the game.
You're ahead of me.
I'm ahead
No
of you, apparently.
spoilers.
No spoilers.
Well, that's going to
but
make this a difficult discussion.
I will say
Yeah.
that I am enjoying the hell out of this game.
This game is
and
really good.
It's so good. And yeah, it's just it's so surprising to have like previews for a game and like trailers for a game that looks just so bad. But when it comes out, it's like, wow, this is actually really good.
It was funny because that's been the conversation on Twitter, it seems, about how it was poorly marketed. Although, friend of the show, his hacker alias is Blarcade. He's a comic book, video game comic book guy. He's done a couple books and everything like that. I think it was him pointed out that it's like, and maybe Chris Baker did as well. Like they really didn't market this poorly. It was pretty straightforward. When they first showed it off, there was gameplay involved. You knew when it was coming. But
Just didn't look very good.
Right. It just got me to thinking that I really think that this just suffered so much from the Avengers. Because the Avengers was a bit of a mess when it came out. The art style never looked right in that game. The characters always looked like these off-brand MCU characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I know I did this for sure, but I think that a lot of people kind of transplanted their feelings of Avengers onto Guardians, because Guardians art direction in those first trailers didn't look amazing to me either.
No.
And the feelings from Avengers were very, very fresh. Plus, also, I don't know if it was really clear back then that it was going to be a single player game where you commanded the team. And I seem to remember seeing that in the midst of a lot of game showcases where all you saw were tactical team-based shooters over and over and over again. It's like, oh my God, this looks like another one, even though it clearly wasn't. So I really think that a lot of people just glossed over it because of that.
Yeah. Main culprit be the Avengers did not help this game
because
at
it was
all.
Square Enix. And it's worth pointing out that they're from the same publisher, and that was the problem.
Yeah. So you finished it, right, Greg?
I did.
You finished it. And you're on, CJ, you said you're on 12?
12.
I am on, I want to say 9.
So I guess you're going to put a spoiler warning on this at some point, CJ, right?
I mean,
do we want to dive into it right now?
Well, we might as well. You're up to chapter 9, so
okay. So I will tell you where I am at.
Okay,
but spoilers. This is now we are getting into spoilers.
Skip to the next chapter in your podcast.
Yeah, and if you have not played this game yet,
go play.
Don't listen to spoilers.
Don't listen to this.
Go play.
Don't listen to spoilers. Yeah. Go.
It's a good game. Go play it.
It really is. Jeez Louise. So I'm at the part where I've encountered the cult, and they captured us, and I got the whole we're trying to find a way to save Nikki at this point. We're trying to go back and save her, and we're rushing off because we found out that the cult has arrived on nowhere. We were talking to Cosmo, and he's all like, "You don't come here. Go save Galaxy."
Cosmo's fantastic, by the way.
Absolutely.
Right?
Love him.
Right? Cosmo, the
so great
Russian space dog who can psychically communicate with you. And
apparently based on what the game is saying, is like one of the most powerful psychics in the universe or something.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where I am right now.
Okay.
You're about to get to some of my favorite parts of this game.
Okay.
Really?
Okay.
What part of that whole thing are you on?
What do you mean?
Like, what have you seen?
Yeah, like, so you're in nowhere, you're saying, right? Or
you're in nowhere? Is that where you are?
No. I'm
You're past that.
Because you go to nowhere, and you talk to Cosmo.
Yeah. And so are you on the rock?
Because he sends you off, and you go back to the Nova ship.
Yeah.
And you get the cult shows up with their gigantic ship. Yeah.
That's the rock.
Yeah. And they you go in there, and you have the whole info dump where you find out about the Faith batteries, and you find out that Nikki is the matriarch.
Yeah.
And you have the big, you have the dramatic flashback where you get stuck in the promise, and you have to reject the promise.
So you've seen the birthday party.
The birthday party on the ship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because
Okay.
because there's the flashback where you go back to
your birthday party.
Back to your
right.
child. Yeah, you go back
And you
to
can try to save your mother.
to Star-Lord's childhood as an adult.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you get to-
we're really going into spoilers here.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
I hope nobody's
I
listening.
don't think you can talk about this game without doing
can't.
that. I
Yeah.
really
You
don't.
can't.
There's
Yeah.
too much of it is based on the story.
Narrative.
Yeah, so
Narrative.
I had that false ending. You get the false ending that you
Yeah.
have to reject, and then then
Yes.
there's the other. You get zapped into the false promise on the ship where you are a happy family with what's her name, space lady and Nikki
Carell.
Thank you,
Corral, yeah.
and Nikki, and then you escape from the cult and you end up back on the Milano, and everyone's all mopey because they all relived, got to see loved ones again and stuff like that, and then it's like
I think
we gotta go
You're
see.
on your way to the World Mind.
Yeah, I just talked to the World Mind.
Okay.
That was pretty
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I talked to
Great
the
scene.
Yeah,
Great bit.
I'm the World Mind chat was the last thing I did, and then we
So, okay,
walk
excellent.
away.
Okay. You're
Can
about
I
to
ask-
get to my favorite part of the game
Oh,
so
okay,
far.
cool.
Can I ask though? So as far as I'm trying to remember where this scene was that I'm thinking of. So after you talk to the World Mind
Mm-hmm.
and everybody leaves, right? I think, or the World Mind leaves at least.
Well, the World Mind leaves, and then the cult shows up and starts
Yep.
draining everyone,
Yep.
Right, and,
and
you
then
escape,
around,
right?
and then the Guardians warp out of there.
Is there a scene there right at the end of that where you're all sitting in the cockpit
Mm-hmm.
and everyone's arguing,
Yes.
Yes.
and Peter loses his shit?
Yes, that's where
Okay.
I'm at. That's where I stopped playing.
That to me, and I'm actually getting a little tingly thinking about this, and probably because I'm so tired, but that to me was a very powerful scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it really drove home how good the writing is in this game,
Yeah.
and how wonderfully it's acted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
It really is.
and I don't know if you guys can really relate to this, but I mean, you can to a point, but where you've both only got one kid each.
Oh, here we go.
It
it comes.
very much because I mean, but
As a
seriously,
real
because the
parent
game-
with multiple kids, I understand.
I do have a point here because the dialogue in the game is great anyway, and they lose their temper with each other and they're constantly bickering with each other, and it really feels they've really made it feel like a family,
Right.
in a lot of ways, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
But that scene in particular to me was just like, if you've ever gotten into a bit of an argument with one of your kids
Mhm.
or your wives, and you just go over the edge a
Mhm.
little bit,
Right.
like just emotionally.
Yeah, I do that in Mario Party all the time.
And well, there you go. And in that moment anyway, because all four of your teammates are bickering and arguing, and they're all looking to you. And Peter, not that he hasn't yelled before that, but he really puts on this like, I have had enough, and his voice breaks
Yeah.
when he really screams at them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then everybody gets up and leaves, and you feel the character, as the character, he immediately feels regret that he did that.
Right.
But I mean, it was one of those moments where he was trying to calm everyone down and no one was listening. And so the only way to make it happen was to raise his voice to the point that it shocked everybody in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it happened in the game, I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I have felt this. You know what I mean? Like, because especially with 3 kids running around and sometimes into a situation where they're bickering and trying really hard to calmly bring everything back down to a reasonable level.
Yeah.
Finally losing my temper and yelling like that.
Yeah.
And then immediately wanting to apologize to everybody
Yeah.
for it.
Well,
It just it really hit home when it happened. It's like, oh my God, that is one of the only times I remember in a video game sort of having that feeling and having it come across so perfectly.
Well, the game is doing a very good job, and it's all the writing. I mean, there's this game has, and I mentioned this briefly last week and we talked about it. This game has so much writing.
So much.
I mean,
there's always dialogue.
Yeah, and you can just let the characters talk for like 5 minutes straight, and they will just have a full-on conversation. And
even during battle,
yeah. And it's for the most part relevant stuff, and it's all towards building the characters or setting the scene or setting the tone. And the game has done a very good job at the point where I'm at right now of really selling the idea that everyone is screwed and everyone is miserable and everyone is at their absolute lowest moment. Because at this part in the story, and again, spoilers, there's this teenage girl. She's not I think she's 12, right?
She's 12.
Yeah. There's this tween who is very possibly Star-Lord's daughter that he's just learned about, and she has been indoctrinated into a crazy space cult that is evil and that is going to destroy the universe so thoroughly that even the all-powerful, all-knowing world mind is like, I guess we should probably just let him out of here. Might as well just let him. There's no stopping this train. I'm gonna take off. You guys have fun doing what you do. And the Guardians were all just offered this sort of like kind of psychic artificial happiness. You know, that's
the promise.
Yeah, the promise, which is the whole what the cult does. This is how they get people to submit. And you live out Peter's version of that, in which you are sent back to when your mother was alive and you have the opportunity to save her, and you do. And that whole scene, by the way, I thought was so great. Just so well done. Because you save her, and then you have that kind of like and then it kind of flashes forward, and then so you're living with your mom again as an adult. She's alive, and then your space family has come and joined you, and like the Guardians are all living with you
all around the house, watching TV.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
You didn't see that, CJ?
I did not see that.
Oh my god!
Scene.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Like Drax was
I
like
did not
fixing
see
the
that
range,
scene.
and
yeah, there's because like at one point you're outside working on your car or the truck or whatever, and like your mom comes and calls you in, and you're walking into the house, and you can see the Milano, the Guardian spaceship, is like parked out in the field, and you're walking.
I did not see any of
you
this.
have to
By the
accept
way,
the promise, CJ.
I did not see any of this.
Thing.
Oh, so you did not.
I went ahead and shot her immediately.
Wow.
I didn't realize you could. You
Neither did I.
You could do that. You could pull your gun out and boom.
Well, I ended up having to do. Well, here's what happens, CJ.
I'm sure you did it eventually.
Well, I did.
I did it right away.
Yeah, you have to. But here's what happens.
Yeah.
Is if you accept the promise, you end up in this scenario where you're living happily with your mom, and the Guardians are all living with you. You're all one big happy family. You're going in the house, and you're walking into the house, and then you just hear
Is the fridge door still open?
Huh? Yes.
Yeah, what's with the fridge door? Is that a thing in the comics or something?
I don't know, but like every fridge door,
brilliant.
You have to close.
You have to close.
I love it.
Yeah, but like you hear Drax like just, where do you keep your knives?
Yeah.
Peter Quill's mom, and she says, "Oh, they're in the drawer." Yeah. I see
you can go into the living room, and they're watching.
I see a small blade that's worthy of a child.
And I'm just talking because Phil's frozen again. So.
Am I frozen?
Right, yeah.
Great. I'm frozen. Am I back?
There he goes.
You're
back.
Frozen.
Okay. But yeah, everyone's just like watching TV, and Drax is complaining because the kitchen knives are not large enough for a warrior such as him.
Yeah.
And you can go around and you can start just talk to people.
Now I'm sad I missed this part.
But as you're going through this scene, you start to notice like around the edges of the TV screen, just like little kind of staticky just darkness kind of overtaking it. And the further you play, the more it starts encroaching on the scene, and you start hearing like kind of staticky background noises until the whole thing is just consumed by the darkness, and then you have to and then it goes to the credit roll.
Yep.
And it's
really?
like, yeah,
What?
Yeah. You get, and that's the end of the game. And then as the credits are rolling, it brings up a little kind of dialogue box option to accept the promise or reject it. And if you accept it, after that, it just kicks you back to the title screen. It's just game over.
So cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that you're sad you missed, I'm curious for either of you, because this is something that I've completely missed.
Yeah.
And since you're both past the first time you're in nowhere, if you haven't seen this, you've missed it.
Yeah.
Did you get into the Collector's Menagerie?
No.
I did not, because I didn't want to spend all my money. Because it's like, what, 5,000 credits or something?
There's apparently that is where you'll find the Stan Lee cameo.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Huh.
Oh, man.
Yep.
See,
So
I
kind
need to-
but the nice thing is that you can jump to chapters in your save game.
Right. You can
So you can go back and do
good.
that. I'm not going to say more about what it is, but
Right. Okay.
it's in there.
Okay.
Cool.
It's I will say too, like talking about the writing, that was a great scene. And yes, Phil, I did see that as well.
Yeah.
And the one I was just talking about, and then there's some further scenes that you haven't made it to yet, so I'm not going to even hint at what they are.
Mhm.
But for as funny as this game can be, and as sort of endearing as it makes the relationships between these characters, there's some Spider-Man ending level emotional stuff happening at various points too. And I think that's one of the things that they've done such a great job with is I love the first Guardians movie especially, but I love the MCU versions of the Guardians. I think they did a great job with them.
Right.
Although I will say, of course, based on the fact that they're part of a gigantic cast of characters, that a lot of them became very one note. Like Drax is a perfect example of that. Drax in the MCU is a punchline and not really much else.
Right.
Punchline with muscles. And I'm sure it's more like this in the comics, but in this game, they did a wonderful job of making him a character.
Yep.
Right. And it's the same with all of them, really.
Mhm.
But Drax in particular is a really engaging character in this game. And he's not
Agreed.
just a big, I don't even want to say stupid, but he's not just the muscle.
Right.
He's a lot more than that in this game. So, and there are some moments that you guys are both, I think, coming to.
Yeah.
That are
I've already
just
gotten
like,
to at least one of those moments.
Okay.
Yeah.
That are,
I know
it's
you
just like,
have.
wow.
But there's more
Okay.
past
Yeah.
that too.
And there's a lot of fun gameplay wrinkles that start to happen after the point you were at, Phil.
Yeah.
That I wasn't expecting.
Mhm.
Let's just say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just a really, really fun game.
Yeah.
Like
They did a great job
I'm
with it.
surprised at how much fun I'm having with it because I'm not an MCU fan. I don't read comic books. I liked the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I didn't see the sequel. But I am enjoying the hell out of this game for pretty much the narrative by
Mhm.
itself is completely pushing me along.
Yeah.
And the great thing about this is that the chapters are always moving. I don't feel like there's any downtime in this game where you're doing nothing or doing the same thing over and over
Or the
again.
downtime is interesting.
Or the
When you're
downtime
like
is
on
interesting.
the Milano in between
Right.
missions, and you
Yes.
can walk around and talk to everybody. There's actually something interesting going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, but you don't have to, right?
Yeah.
And like all the stuff that you can scan in the environment, you don't have to do any of that. It's all optional, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that the game points out where the secrets are, especially if you have the one upgrade that gives you the little notification that there's a secret nearby. You just turn on your scanning visor and it'll just show you right where it is.
Yep.
Like I love all that stuff, and I love what they've done with this game. I hope that it sells well enough that they can do another one because I really want that to happen. Like I don't want this to be the end of Guardians of the Galaxy in video game form.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope it gets the love it deserves, especially when it comes to awards and things like that as well. Like it needs to.
Yeah.
It needs to receive the accolades that it deserves for sure.
Yeah.
It's a shame
Absolutely.
It's still really buggy, I gotta say.
It is.
It's very
Some
buggy. I had to
major technical bugs happening in there.
I had to restart the game because the Y button prompt just would not go away on my screen.
Yeah.
Just stayed in the middle.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
And
Yeah.
it wouldn't go
like
away.
that.
So I had to save and reload the game from scratch.
I had
to get
multiple
rid of it.
moments in my playthrough where I had to reload from last checkpoint.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't all the time, but it was frequent enough that it's like, oh wow, this is happening again. Okay.
Yeah, I had I took a video of it and posted it on Twitter. There was a moment on the ship early on where if you go into Groot's room, he has that little closet that you can open up. And I had gone in there and I had opened the closet and just looked in there. And then I hit the button again to close it. And when I hit the close closet button, I instantly just popped into Star-Lord's room.
Yeah.
Up above, and I wasn't controlling it, but Star-Lord just ran out of the room and ran through the ship and ran downstairs and ran into Groot's room and hit the button to close the closet. So it just
There's a
weird.
fair
got
amount
some
of issues like
problems.
that, which is
Yeah.
a shame.
Yeah. And, I think a lot of people dismiss this game visually initially. As I continue to play, I am more and more impressed
There's some
with
nice
what they have done
stuff.
Yeah.
with this game. There's a photo mode, and I've been taking a fair amount of photos in it. And I wish it was a little better with some of this stuff. Like in combat, if you take photos using the photo mode in combat, they generally don't turn out very well.
Oh, really?
But to me, the set pieces that are in this game are just amazing looking. Like, I think it just keeps like getting better and better the further I go into the game. And
I was really
Good
impressed playing it earlier today before the show. Because I was going through the or was that I think it was last night when I was playing that part. But when you're on the church ship and you are trying to escape and you're on those skiffs and you get into that giant area where there are just looks like millions of people just like milling about getting their souls sucked out and all that stuff. I was just like, this looks really nice. This is very impressive looking, and and again does a great job of setting the mood and the tone of the scene. Just seeing all these people kind of getting their minds wiped or whatever by this cult. And then you got Rocket freaking out because it reminds him of his past. And
see, again, a great and something that was hinted at in sort of the MCU as well. But I mean, you really get a lot of detail from him now.
Oh yeah,
and again, they all just become much more empathetic characters.
Yeah.
I really want to see somebody like I think his name is Josh over at Panels to Pixels or Seabake or one of the real comic book gamer guys. I'd love to see them go through the whole thing with a fine-tooth comb and point out all the references, because for as many as I'm getting, I know there's 3 times as many probably that I'm not, because I'm not a comic book guy and not a Guardians of the Galaxy guy. And it's just like, I would love to, again, like even little things like the fridge being open all the time. I'm convinced that must be a reference to something.
Yeah.
But because it's just always there. But,
Well, and the game saves every time you close it. So I wonder, keeping
it's
track.
There
what
might be a
doing?
trophy attached to that too. I think there might be, actually.
Because every time I
got
close it, the little saving icon.
Oh,
comes
funny!
up
I didn't notice
top of the
that.
screen.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
And there are moments in the game where you'll make a decision, and there'll be very similar to a Telltale game.
Yeah,
little text that shows up on the screen, like somebody's going to remember that. Or
Did anyone toss Rocket yet?
I tossed Rocket. Yeah.
Okay, that's a thing that pays dividends down the line.
I tossed him early in the game, and then I haven't since because
I only did it the one time.
You get the option to ever after that.
Oh, really?
Actually, one of the things that I will mention, because this doesn't really spoil anything, but that I really loved talking about something like that, because like part of the combat is I'm still. The more I get into the game, I'm still crazy about the combat. I think that the team control in the combat works really well.
It really does.
Yeah, but as you're exploring, of course, you get to these different places where, you need different, like Gamora, you need her to scrabble up a wall and use her sword to hold on so she can boost Peter up to a higher level, or with Groot, you'll find these areas where he can create bridges and things like that. And at the beginning of the game and through most of the game, that's 100% done via commands.
Right.
Yeah.
But as the team kind of coalesces and you get through all their different stories and sort of all these story moments happen, after a while, a lot of those situations, they'll start doing it on their own.
Oh, really?
You don't have to tell, which is like this tiny little touch. But again, it's like a wonderful example of like there's harmony within the team.
Right.
And so like, I don't need to tell Groot I need a bridge over there. Groot knows we need a bridge over there. So he just goes and does it.
Oh, that's
and
great.
It's just this tiny little thing, but
kind of
it's part of the greater, storyline, which I really like.
Yeah, the combat in this game too. I mean, we were talking about the story and the characters and all that stuff, which is fantastic, but I'm surprised at how much I'm enjoying the combat too, because you would think, I mean, on paper, it sounds like this would just be a mess. It's like you're running around shooting guys, but you're also giving individual commands to 4 other computer controlled characters. But it
doing
works.
context sensitive stuff within the environment.
Yeah,
it
and
really does work.
And it works. It works really well. And
choosing elements with Peter's gun.
Yeah. And I only have 2 of the elements so far. So
I have 3.
Okay. So, oh wow. So you don't even have all 4 of them yet. So,
no.
But
they dole out that stuff at a nice rate.
Yeah.
Even near the end of the game, you'd be getting a couple of new abilities. So.
Okay. Nice.
Related to the story too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like a lot of that stuff is tied to story. You'll unlock something and be like, now you can do this.
Okay.
It's like, okay.
And I think that's something else, because we haven't really touched on this, and I know we need to move on, but something else that I did want to point out that I really like about this game is that the accessibility options in this game are great.
Yeah.
I don't know if they go as far as people would want them to, but there's still quite a bit there, including like the 4 different difficulty levels is a great start. But I mean, you can fiddle so much with the lock on and how the abilities work, and if you need to hold buttons versus just tapping them. And there's if you dig into the menus, there's a lot of accessibility options in there, which I'm really
you can tune it to a very fine degree.
Yeah,
everything.
Great.
Yeah, and I found playing through on default. I'd heard other people say that this didn't work for them, but I found playing through on the default difficulty, I had to use my teammates' abilities to make it through some of the later battles. So
I did. I turned mine up to normal. I was on easy. I turned it back up to normal, and I have been using more of the teammate abilities. And you're right. Like when you combo those together, when you find the right combination of those, and when, especially there are groups of enemies there, you just watch everybody get destroyed, and it's so good.
Yeah, it's very chaotic.
Yeah. The one thing that I'm kind of not loving about the combat is that when you do the huddle, sometimes you'll get the huddle at the very end of an encounter or whatever.
Yeah.
And the huddle is so much fun. It's just like I wish there was more time to use it. It's like by the time I've charged up the meter, it's already done.
There are some giant battles near the end of the game. Like there were battles that I used the huddle like 3 times during the same.
Really?
Seriously?
Oh wow!
What?
So you'll get the opportunity.
Man.
Okay.
Okay.
That's exciting though. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.